Hello everybody. You find me at Anfield Cemetery. Can you hear that bird? So I came here the other day after work, just wanted to practice with my new camera and my new lens, wanted to capture some birds, and I thought, nice quiet place, cemetery, loads of trees, might be able to get some pictures of some birds. I did. I managed to get a magpie and a blackbird and a female blackbird, which are quite clear. And then as I'm walking around listening for the birds and looking for them up in the tree, I come across this notice. So as you do, you walk over and you have a read. So, the men of the Chinese Labour Corps, and I thought, what the pig in hell is that? So, reading on, the 5 headstones in Anfield Cemetery are testimony to one of the great injustices of the war. During World War I, 95,000 Chinese men were recruited by the British in what became the Chinese Labour Corps. It wasn't just the British, the French did it as well. So I'm going to leave that there for you to read, because walking, talking, breathing is not a thing at the moment. So pause that, then we'll move on to the next one, and pause that, and pause and read that. Now firstly, I thought, oh, didn't know that. I didn't even know that although Liverpool is known to be the oldest Chinatown in Europe, I didn't realise that they were part of World War I. Don't know why I didn't know that, but I didn't know that. But the greatest influx of Chinese people wasn't from the 1800s with all the shipping, and it wasn't from the Second World War either. These are all Chinese resting places, by the way. All those have Chinese inscriptions on them. But the largest influx of Chinese people was from World War I, between May 1917 and April 1918, where they were recruited. 27 ships arrived at Liverpool, and between them carried 65,000 Chinese labourers, over 2/3 of the Chinese workforce recruited by the British Army. There was another 40,000 recruited by the French. So fearing attacks by the German U-boats in the Mediterranean, so the ships came by the Pacific. So they went from the Pacific around to Canada, overland by train from Vancouver on the west coast to Halifax on the east coast, and then by ship to Liverpool. And then, after 13 days of being on ship, still on the ship, they would then get on the trains down to southeast coast, and from there onto another ship to northern France. Very treacherous journeys, very treacherous indeed. Many people lost their lives on those journeys. You may be asking yourself, what's the Chinese Labour Corps? They were the people who dug the trenches, shored up the trenches, collected the shells, fixed the railways, made the roads, and after the war many were still there collecting the fallen soldiers, the fallen animals, clearing all the shells. Very, very dangerous job. These people were civilians. They agreed to come over here and help the Allied because they were in very poor villages themselves, and they were told you would be paid, you would have food, you would have clothing, you would have a roof over your head. But because they were known as very hard-working people, they were asked, and they did sign up, and they would send their money back home. I'll leave a link to a video that I watched earlier. It goes into more depth and you might find it interesting. I did. And you'll notice on the stone it has Chinese inscription and English. And there's no name, just a number. Just a number. But this one, thankfully, has a name. So we know who this gentleman is and his final resting place. So these graves are now maintained by the Memorials Foundation, I think it's called. I'll find out, and I'll put it in along with the link, as I say, and I'll put some photographs in here of what I found online of some of the work they did. So, although you weren't recruited as soldiers, I will say thank you for your service.